Every year, the Royal Institute of British Architects holds a competition to find the UK's best new house. From hundreds of entries, they whittle it down to a long list, then a shortlist, and finally a winner for this great architectural prize. And this year, for the first time, Grand Designs is along for the ride.
So, we'll be taking you behind usually closed doors to see some of the finest new architecture in the country.
Wow, that's like a cliff of brick. If that isn't a facade, I don't know what is.
So far, we've seen remarkable country villas.
This is the entry into the double height space.
And houses that rework tiny urban plots.
I'm very struck by this view, though. It's a hidden beauty, isn't it? This series is entirely dedicated to great houses of today, homes from which you can take inspiration, which are the exemplars of where design is heading.
This time, we're going to be looking at another 5 modern houses, all built with great craftsmanship.
I love these little sort of incidental, the moments.
And later, we'll find out which of them has made it onto the shortlist to be in the running for House of the Year 2015.
Looking at great architecture is something of a dream job, really. A wonderful set of experiences that, frankly, we would like to share with you.
So far, 4 outstanding homes have been shortlisted for this equivalent of the BAFTAs of architecture. Joining me to explore 5 more contenders are Editor-in-Chief of Elle Decoration, Michelle Gunderhin.
This is extraordinary.
And architect Zach Munro.
Wow, it's great to come in and have a proper entrance.
One of the things I'm most excited about in this year's long list is the number of homes that are beautifully made, crafted, in other words. And in the 21st century, that word, crafted, has the same meaning as it did to William Morris or John Ruskin in the middle of the 19th century. They sought simplicity and truth in the well-made thing. And so today, beautifully crafted homes are usually best when they are uncomplicated and where they occasionally bear the mark of their maker.
Our first house presents exactly that simplicity to the world. It's set in the village of Maca in rural Ulster.
So what do you build on a prominent site on the edge of a very conservative, traditional village in Northern Ireland? Well, apparently, you build this.
This gleaming 2-storey home is a 21st century version of a traditional, long, whitewashed Ulster home. In plan, it's as though 2 agricultural sheds have been added to over the years and linked by a wedgy lump in the middle.
Wow. This is a blank of a wall. It's like 2 barns, or rather the ghost of 2 barns sitting in the morning mist.
Downstairs, in the larger barn, there's a large, open-plan living, dining and kitchen area, a study and a sitting room. Upstairs, there are 4 family bedrooms. The triangular music room in the middle links to the second barn, which has a large guest bedroom, utility room and a garage. The house was commissioned by Simon, who works in finance, and his wife, Aileen, who grew up in Maca, and it's now home to children, Neve, Emmett and Molly.
Hi.
Hi, lovely to meet you.
Aileen, yeah?
Yes.
Simon.
So pleased to meet you.
Pleased to meet you.
Oh, what a great view you got through that building. So we're stood here then. This is like a triangular bit of the building in between the 2 barns.
That's right.
You come in and it narrows down to that point out there.
Yeah.
Lovely.
No, most of the time spent in the
In
kitchen.
the kitchen.
Through here?
Just through here.
Yep.
Heavens. What a great room. It pulls you that way, doesn't it?
That's right.
Yes.
Out into the landscape.
The RIBA judges praised the quality of finish, craftsmanship and detail in this building. The house subtly reworks the modest style of local farm buildings, which often have blank, windowless gable ends facing the road. The same stark blankness is repeated at the rear, dissolving the difference between front and back.
What did you have in your mind when you started?
We wanted a contemporary style, but we wanted it very much to fit in.
And that matters to you, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Because your family
Yes.
are here. Did you use a local builder?
Yeah, the builder we used was, he was exceptional in terms of he's a local man as well, third generation of builders, and his attention to detail was second to none.
The project ran smoothly under the watchful eye of Belfast architect Kieran McGonigal, who drew inspiration from traditional farm buildings and their multiple openings. Kieran's practice, McGonigal-McGrath, also sourced some of their ideas from contemporary sheds too. But this is a house. It's not built like a shed or barn. There are hidden gutters for the sleek zinc roof to drain into. The perfect render is dirt repellent and self-cleaning. And the oh-so-important junctions of elements and surfaces in this building are faultless. In the Irish tradition, this is a concrete house, so there are no cracks. The floors are of shimmering terrazzo, granite, and enormous planks of timber.
One of the things we really loved was with the builder and the architect was we wanted attention to detail and we wanted quality.
And even in the granite sills that you can see, the lines match up from inside to outside, and all those small details, I think, come together.
Does that detail give you pleasure?
It does. It's a strange thing to say, and I probably deny it, but it does.
These look like they're designed for perching and for putting knickknacks on. Not that you've got many of those. What are they made from?
They're made from granite.
Are they?
So, yep, so they're granite benches, and
Nice.
it's
It's got a polish underneath.
it's the same granite as you use on the sills and outside. And
So it is.
And it's actually quarried from up in the mountains there.
The Mourne granite is renowned for its quality and fine grey colour. Granite, of course, is one of the most durable materials available. It has to be cut with diamond blades.
There is advantages in having the like of Mourne granite in as sills or thresholds, because using ordinary concrete products certainly will diminish and weather away at a much faster pace. The like of granite will be there, I would say, forever, but certainly give it 100, 200, 300 years.
I suppose we think about craftsmanship traditionally as being about enrichment, complicated detailing, but here, the craftsmanship all lies in the handling of the materials and the way they meet. For example, here, a flawless joint between the timber and between the timber and the metal and the polished terrazzo and honed upstand, all meeting with no gaps, with sort of aerospace precision. And those lines, of course, are, in order to appreciate that, have to be carried through the building again and again, through every detail. The corollary of that is, of course, you do need to completely hide your shit. View of the village from here.
That's one of my favourite things about the house, is the connection with the village through this window, and the way that the architects have designed the pedestrian entrance.
So up the steps,
Up the steps.
through those walls, yeah.
I think it makes the house very friendly and open and part of the village.
Yeah. Do people think that here? Is that a commonly held view? Do they see it as a friendly place?
Hopefully.
See you as friendly people?
Yes.
More north lights then from these great skylights above the staircase. I suppose you value the light here, don't you?
Yes.
In the weather that you have. Where do we head? Great long corridor, beautiful. The kids' bedroom's off here.
In this cool interior, it's a relief to find the odd splash of colour in the children's bedrooms.
Oh, great barn doors again.
They provide great storage.
And that view down. I love these little sort of incidental, the moments you catch yourself finding in this building. It's great.
And at the end of the hallway is the substantial master bedroom.
It almost looks, forgive me, as though nobody's here. I mean, there's no bedside table, there's no alarm clock. This is how you live.
It is. Simon would probably like a bedside table. We just haven't got round to getting one yet.
Okay. Everything is done in the same 2 tones of grey. And that's something you really like,
Yeah, we
obviously.
love it. Yeah.
We do.
Yeah. Good.
I think it keeps the building bright and calm.
No, I feel very proud of this house. I still get a real sort of warm sense when I sort of come around that corner from the pub and you see the silhouette of it, and it's just, I love what we've created here. It's,
fantastic.
Yeah.
What a lovely way to experience a building. Fantastic piece of architecture, walking home from the pub.
Yes.
So standing here, looking at the back of the house, at least I think it's the back of the house, it is just as ambiguous, just as blank, really, as the front. Indeed, if it is the front. And that's the interesting thing about the outside of this building, its ambiguity. The fact that driving through this village, anybody might think, is that a cowshed? Is it a super glamorous farm? Is it an art gallery? No, it's a house. Never judge a book by its cover, and for that matter, never judge a building by its facade, no matter which one it is.
In this journey into 21st century craftsmanship, we have 4 more extraordinary houses to explore.
Oh, wow.
It's said that fashion is for people who don't have style. This explains why I'm perfectly happy to wear socks with sandals. But equally, let's not confuse taste with good design, because good design is not fashion, it's not branding or styling. Good design is pragmatic and it's problem solving. It's a process of refining our world so that it's more comfortable, it's more engaging, more flattering. A great piece of design, whether it's a car, a dress or a house, should make us feel good. It's why I enjoy buildings. They make me feel good inside, they make me feel younger, sexier.
I am really enjoying looking round the brilliant homes that are in the running for the RIBA House of the Year award. In this programme, I'm focusing on where the craftsmanship lies in 21st century architecture.
There is an almost anti-crafts sentiment in modernism, a rejection of the handmade in favour of the machine-made. The houses in this programme, they straddle that tension between the creative crafts and the machine modern. These are the kind of seductive houses we're used to seeing in films and in glossy adverts. We naturally associate them with a sort of international sense of glamour. In fact, maybe we should give them a new collective name, International Glamour Homes.
Our next house promises exactly that. A slice of Hollywood glitz cut into a hillside in Hampstead, commissioned by film director Mehdi Narouzian and wife Ellie, an interior designer. This handsome house is tailor-made for them and their 2 children. It is cool, relaxed, flexible and theatrical. It is a grand treehouse in the woods. Editor-in-chief of Elle Decoration, Michelle Gunderhin, is paying them a visit.
Oh, wow.
The route in leads you straight into another world via a small bridge over a cascading stream to the front door.
Hello.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Hello.
Hi.
I really do feel like I'm on the threshold of a kind of brave, new and rather sexy modern universe. Can I come in?
Universe, please. I like the sound of that. Please, please, please.
The front door opens onto the middle floor of this dramatic 3-storey house to reveal an expansive view over Hampstead Heath.
Wow, what an exceptional view. You've really framed it here, haven't you? But where do you hang out?
Downstairs. Downstairs.
The balustrade overlooks a double-height space in which sits the living, dining and kitchen areas below.
Well, this is impressively dramatic, isn't it? Wow. So when you come home, you come straight down into this space and you feel all your worries and cares drop away, I imagine.
And that view just
out there, trees. It's really, really quite special.
The house has 3 floors. The lower level contains a generous living and dining area, which has been partially excavated out of the hillside. The middle floor has an office and the pool deck, while the top floor cantilevers out over the garden and provides 4 bedrooms with carefully directed windows and balconies that focus the views.
How did it come about that you've commissioned this extraordinary piece of architecture?
We're after a quality of life, really. With the kids and us, and I work from home, so, and I just wanted more space.
Yeah.
More space that is not, you have to climb, 5 floors to get to it.
Because this is a very lateral house, I feel.
Well, yeah.
Mehdi spent years working in LA, and that Californian lifestyle clearly influenced the design.
You really held on to this idea of this sort of Californian ideal of indoor-outdoor, but at the same time, the reality is we're in Britain. So you've countered that with all these wonderful warm textures, warm colours to get that kind of balance.
We had a lot of vintage pieces, vintage furniture, and we were using those as reference to the other newer elements that were coming into the house, like, for example, the handrail, that sort of brushed antique brass effect.
The brief was to make a friendly, open, light-filled space that was ideal for entertaining. This is a family that loves to party, and the RIBA judges liked the way the architects, Stanton Williams, have responded to that need. They also like the way this place sits like a nest in the trees, crisp, defensive and reticent outside, with a softer and domestic centre.
When we've had friends visiting on a winter day, they're standing here, they're looking out. We've had comments that, gosh, I feel like I'm in Yosemite. When they go upstairs to the bedrooms and you've got that feeling of a tree house almost, they're like, gosh, I feel like I'm in a Scandinavian spa. And on hot days, when the sun's shining, we've got the pool open, the kids are splashing out, we've got, great music on, you feel like you're in Bali or Mexico, so it really transports you. Or LA. It just, that feeling of transportation and that sort of playful element we love.
So this really is an international glamour home with wings. But getting a project like this to truly fly is never easy. Mehdi and Ellie had their share of problems. They bought the site just after the 2008 financial crisis, and then the builder went bust, but not before demolishing the original house.
All right, it wasn't much of a building, but still, it had a value. When that was demolished, we were left with basically a pile of rubble. There we were.
It's starting to sound like a bit of a catalogue of disasters. Did you ever have a moment when you just thought, we've made a terrible, terrible mistake and I want to back out now?
Well, no, because our hands were tied. We couldn't do anything, At least if the previous house was still there, then we could have reconsidered, but we had no choice. And fortunately, we got there.
If there is one word for this challenge, would be keep going.
Their determination and their architect's genius has yielded an imaginative home of fantasy, replete with craftsmanship and fine detail, and a generous dollop of home comfort.
I'm so happy here. I love my space. I look forward to opening that door and hearing the water running, and if it was a beautiful summer day, hear the kids in the pool and having fun.
And was that what you expected? Did you have that in your mind's eye, or has it just been more than you ever imagined?
I think it's turned out to be nicer than what we imagined, to be honest.
It's been pleasantly a much nicer surprise than we thought it would be. It's a real privilege to be here.
Privilege and pleasure are two of the graces that architecture can bestow on us, that today come from the craft of good design, rooted in 20th century ideas about how homes can be livable and enjoyable.
I'm struck by how, in the first 15 years of this new century, we have rushed to redefine the last one, pay homage to it. Already we're correcting our prejudices against things like brutalism and naked concrete. We're learning to love again the best that architecture could throw at us in the 60s and 70s. And we are occasionally proud to relive those great 20th century moments by reinventing and occasionally borrowing from them when designing new houses. Westmoreland has got concrete, and it's not afraid to use it.
And this is Westmoreland, hunkered down in the leafy suburbs of Liverpool, a 21st century homage to the 1960s. Architect Zach Munro has come to meet the owner, Richard.
Richard.
Hi.
Hi.
Zach, nice to meet you. Hi.
You too. Wow. It's a great space. I mean, it's great to come in and have a proper entrance. A view up, double height.
And yes, there's concrete everywhere, from floor to ceiling. Although the front seems a little forbidding, the back of the house is friendlier and broken up by large windows. Downstairs, there's a large double-height hallway, an open-plan kitchen, dining and living area, and a cosy snug. Upstairs, there are 5 bedrooms, either side of a long glass-roofed corridor. The judges enjoyed the glamorous, well-crafted exterior in contrast to the concrete brutalism of the interiors. The previous house on the site was demolished by Richard. The new house can now enjoy the one major asset left behind, its wonderfully mature garden.
This is the view from which, for me, it works.
If you're living in it, it's what you really can appreciate and enjoy about it, is this big expanse of glass and this reflection of the garden and connection with the garden.
Inside, this house is a temple dedicated to concrete.
Neil, the architect, he was kind of quite insistent on doing the concrete, and I kind of bought into it quite early on, because I quite like concrete.
Personally, I love concrete. I think once it's up, the benefits of it are quite massive, in terms of you have no plastering, no painting, no skirting boards. It keeps it very cool in the summer, and it keeps a constant heat in the winter as well.
Once Richard had agreed that concrete should be the main construction material, £120,000 worth of the stuff could start being poured, but with one major caveat. It had to be done right first time.
But the thing with concrete, it's a one-shot deal, because once that shutters up and the concrete's in, that's it. You know, there's no fixing it going back. And I quite like that. You know, as opposed to kind of plaster and the constant kind of working it and rubbing it down and this kind of ridiculous search for perfection.
The house is unashamedly modern, and yet Richard was very clear about one thing. He didn't want a sterile antiseptic box.
I wanted to achieve a kind of nice combination of materials and finishes and looks.
While the architect was inspired by Brutalist concrete, Richard wanted something rather more California glamour home.
The biggest influence in the design of this whole space was the Kaufman house in Palm Springs.
The Kaufman home is now widely regarded as one of the most important examples of the modernist or international style. It was designed by Richard Neutra for glamorous indoor-outdoor living and finished in 1946. In 2015, hidden away in Liverpool, there's a modest and fresh interpretation of its genius.
I love that open plan fire, that double-sided fire, and that simple plane, and that's what we wanted to achieve here, and I think we've done it.
But this is not an enormous house. Its sense of scale comes from the connection to the outdoors.
When you've got blue skies, it's lovely being sat in here and reading or listening to music.
Getting all that glazing in place was, however, not easy.
We waited a number of weeks for the glass. It was meant to be about 8 to 10 weeks for delivery. 16 weeks later, we were still waiting. And then, you know, there were various excuses given. And then on the day it was due to deliver, we had a phone call, the lorries crashed. So then we had to wait another 3 weeks to get new replacement glazing. The fact that the glazing was late, there was this huge knock-on effect, really.
And the perfectly detailed glass doesn't stop at the walls.
So up here, we've got 5 bedrooms, 2 of which are en suite and a family bathroom, and this central atrium glass roof.
Yeah, what a glass roof.
Good, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's about 6 metres long.
It's a reminder that craftsmanship in building can lie in the simplest of well-executed things, even when design decisions are not fully resolved.
The bookcase I wouldn't have put on the concrete wall. I would have put it on the plaster wall. And Richard, I'm sure he'll agree, he'll tell you. We didn't come to blows, but I never quite understood that decision. But as an architect, you always need to remember, look, it's not your house. If you want to keep absolute control, build your own house. It's as simple as that, isn't it?
Liverpool may be 6,000 miles away from the glitzy case study homes that inspired Westmoreland, But this place carries with it an echo of the international glamour of the best mid-century houses, brought to life by some very up-to-date ideas.
I do like the doors. Those big, full height, 3-metre high doors. Maybe I have size issues.
The next house redefines large. It is a journey into space.
It's like a TARDIS. You'd have no idea about this from the outside.
I'm exploring some of the most ambitiously designed homes in the UK, all of which are in the running to be crowned the RIBA House of the Year. And at the end of the series, we'll be finding out who the winner is. In this programme, it's homes that are simple, modern, and elegantly crafted.
This next house is part of a new emerging breed, a new emerging species of architecture that takes its design cues, its materials, its details, its inspiration from the immediate setting and context, but nearly always softly reworked into a new visual language. This is gentle, respectful. This is caring architecture.
Levering House sits like a caring castle down a mews in a conservation area in Bloomsbury. It's home to Troels, who's Danish with a family background in property, and Peter, who's an American and works as a consultant for luxury hotels. Michelle Gunderhin came to take a look at the house.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, you must be Michelle. I'm Peter.
I am.
Hello, welcome.
Thank you
I'm
for
Troels.
inviting me into your home.
Welcome.
I'm loving what's going on the outside here with this beautiful brick and amazing bronze, but I've got this funny feeling you have some surprises for me inside.
Well, please come in.
Yes, please.
Thank you. It's more enclosed than I imagined it would be.
Well, that's deliberate. We wanted a contrast when you came into more intimate space, and you'll see when we go up that it's much lighter and a larger double height space.
Okay, lead the way.
Please.
This enormous house is laid out over 4 floors. At the top, there's a large living space and south-facing roof terrace. Below that is the main living area, with an open-plan kitchen diner, more terraces, a study and the master bedroom. At street level is the hallway, second study, guest bedrooms and a garage. And then there's the basement, containing a pool running 14.5 metres along the longest side of the plot. The central core of the building is a voluminous light well, dropping all the way down to the basement and delivering natural light to each floor.
Wow. I mean, this is extraordinary. Your house literally opens up before my eyes. So was that a very key part of your brief to the architect? Because it's certainly a very dramatic piece in the centre of your house.
Correct. The other thing that was important in the brief was to have a lot of indoor-outdoor space and communication. So we've got several terraces, what we call the dining room terrace and the kitchen terrace.
And then, of course, the main terrace up there.
The RIBA judges were captivated by the spread of daylight in this place, in a design which extracts a generous house with loads of outdoor space out of a tight corner site.
It's like a TARDIS. You'd have no idea about this from the outside. You've got inside space, you've got outdoor space, I've got daylight being pulled into the house, and you tell me there's a swimming pool. I mean, there's no indication of this from the outside at all.
Well, I mean, I would take it as a compliment that you don't really experience the house until you get in, because we also didn't want the house necessarily to dominate the mews, for example. So it's nice to have a bit of surprise when you come in.
And the craftsmanship of the construction was immediately obvious to the judges in this well-made building.
We went for real materials, so real oak floors, steel, concrete, and then on the outside, bronze, sort of to have authentic materials. And that might be my sort of Scandinavian background, this about honesty in materials, which I think is a Scandinavian tradition. It's modern, but it's also crafted.
The dedication to authentic, honest materials extends even to the bricks. The surrounding streets contain mainly Georgian terraces. The architect, Jamie Fobert, wanted to match the traditional yellow London stock brick. Troels, in response, turned instinctively to his native Denmark. The Peterson family have been in the artisan brickmaking business since 1791. Christian is the man in charge.
I am generation number 7. My whole life has been brick making.
The Peterson factory is famous throughout Europe for the quality and craftsmanship of its bricks.
We are making the bricks like old handmade bricks. We have made a special machine who work like the hand makers. They press it down like original handmade. They cut too much clay away, and then he takes the form up.
The bricks are lifted from the frame, leaving a thumbprint. It's these marks of the maker that impressed themselves on Troels.
A quaint detail here, the brickmaker's thumb marks. A sweet detail. A sign of the production.
Of the craftsmanship.
Of the craftsmanship,
yeah.
yes. Yeah.
Craftsmanship celebrates the handmade, the repetitive, and the pleasure of doing something well for its own sake. Something evident in the joinery and furniture here.
I sit here, we've got this lovely desk made, which I think is actually very nice, and it has a very nice feature, which is actually a law requirement in Denmark that for office work, that your desk has to be can move up and down, and then so you can stand up and work. And then we've got the shutters made here, which is very nice. We lived in a Georgian house before, and Georgian shutters have these small openings so you can modulate the light. Yeah. And of course, in a modern shutter, that would be slightly difficult. So with the architect, we talked about it, and he came up with this idea, a bit like a Christmas calendar,
to allow you to adjust the amount of light.
So you can adjust, so if the sun comes in, you can sort of block it if it hits the desk.
It also makes a kind of sculptural artwork out of the view, doesn't it?
Yeah, also, yeah.
Do you often keep this shut to give yourself a bit more privacy?
Depending how I'm dressed.
Oh, really?
The architect, Jamie Fobert, also introduced a slice of glamour to the house, the basement's 14.5-metre swimming pool.
OK, now I officially have house envy.
The indoor pool contributes to the thermal mass of the building and ingeniously is heated with energy from the Earth's core.
So underneath, not under the pool, but underneath all here, there are 5 boreholes spread out 8 meters apart.
So the boreholes go down 180 meters. So 180 meters.
That's almost twice the height of Big Ben. I mean, how does that happen?
Well, it was certainly a challenge. It's not new technology, but it was constrained by the size of the site.
But how does that work? Literally by building a hole, you get heat? I don't understand.
The liquid runs in a loop, and the water goes down at 7 degrees and comes up at 9. And then you pick out those 2 degrees, and then it goes down again, and you pick out 2 more degrees.
So it's just the action of the water going that far, that deep?
Yes,
that's
that picks the heat from the soil.
This heat, along with energy from solar panels, is processed in the service area that Troels and Peter affectionately call the monster room, dedicated to powering this fortress of a house.
How does it feel? Is it what you imagined?
It's amazing to live with all the daylight. Someone will have lunch here or sitting up there. It's like it's summer all the time. There's the changing sky, the sun come out, and I think that's the biggest quality.
And hopefully it contributes to the cityscape or the realm here. I think it is important that it does fit into this Bloomsbury context.
There is still one more house to see before we find out which 2 of this week's have been shortlisted for the RIBA House of the Year award. But to give us some idea of what it takes to triumph, we visited the 2005 winner, Stealth House, the London home of designer Jeff Powell and his partner, the comedian Jenny Eclair.
I always describe the place as a black wooden box or a shed, a black wooden shed.
It's a black wooden shed, it's a beach house. That's what it's meant to be. It's meant to be sort of almost styleless in that sense.
The site originally had a modest 2-bed house on it, replaced by this innovative 5-bedroom wooden box designed by Jeff in collaboration with the architect Robert Dye. This is a lightweight and adaptable building.
All the walls come down, they're all stud, so you can move a wall, refit it somewhere else. The structure exists from the outside, so anything that's inside isn't supporting. It can move about all over the place.
Do you know what? This is a really practical place to live, and I've never come home without feeling really pleased.
Stealth House won the award because it shows just what you can get out of a standard suburban plot using simple, affordable materials, combined with no small amount of design genius.
I was very surprised to win, and I thought we were just there for a nice evening out.
I was really
No, absolutely gobsmacked. It was great.
But which of the 4 houses in this programme will make it onto the shortlist? We've already seen 4 beautifully crafted and imaginative examples of the modern, simple home. And we have one more equally delightful house yet to see before we find out which of them go forward. We've looked at 4 great projects in this programme, all in the running for the RIBA House of the Year award. And I've still got one last home to see before we find out which of them have been shortlisted.
I have to say this, I receive a fair few letters about the absence of curtains in modern buildings. So what's that about? I mean, is every lover of modern architecture some kind of exhibitionist? I mean, is it that they want everybody to witness every intimate moment?
Kevin McCloud suggests they might. This gleaming modernist marvel on a cliff in North Wales exhibits its contents for the world to see across Cardigan Bay. And I'm not sure I'd use the word modest to describe it. The RIBA judges liked this elegant house for its formal arrangement of solids and voids, exterior and interior spaces, shelter and views. This is a house that lifts you up to engage with the art here and the dramatic setting. On the ground floor, there's a generous open-plan kitchen living space, 2 spare bedrooms at the back, and upstairs a private deck and the master bedroom. Simple. The owners are Rob, an events producer, and his wife Kay, who works for an engineering research company. They wanted a building that floated, which would suck in those panoramic views here and embrace their love of art and sculpture. The project finished in 2014, and we followed it on Grand Designs.
I think it's a beautiful, beautiful object, and there's so much to like about it. You get the contrast of the greys and the whites and the shadows.
Yeah.
Everywhere you look, there's something which has beauty, and you know,
it's
that's
very, very
fantastic.
good.
Modernist, clean line, contemporary architecture is not the easiest thing to achieve, as people may think it is. There's a high level of detail required to ensure that all interfaces meet exactly. There's a perfect alignment of wall lines, glazing lines, etc. It's all borne out by an extreme amount of detail work on our part and liaison with an exceptionally good contractor, because they were artisan builders. They understood the finite tolerance on this design, which was literally 0. We didn't have any tolerance on the house.
There were other challenges for the builders too. The only access to the site was via a narrow railway bridge.
It's an isolated site, so getting access for materials and labour to the site was always going to be the biggest challenge. Even the possibility of delivering by boat to the beach with a crane on the beach. But as it turns out, we managed to source smaller vehicles and different methodologies of getting material through the railway bridge at the end of the track.
Some spaces here are outside, some inside, some are both. Rob was inspired to paint a homage to the Dutch artist Piet Mondrian, inspired by the abstract plan of his own house. Even the kitchen cabinets are detailed like a Mondrian painting. Inspiration for the house came after a visit to Richard Meyer's Getty Center above Los Angeles.
The thing about the work of Richard Meyer that we've seen was how you can get incredible beauty from just geometric simplicity.
The house may have been inspired in California, but Rob and Kay were keen to ensure it felt like part of a new Welsh movement in architecture. It's unusual for a building to create its own context, but that wall actually does as much as anything else here in terms of providing the foil for the building.
My concern was building something that didn't look completely out of place. The wall does that job.
A key part of the brief is to retain a sense of Welshness in the build. We studied the architecture of Wales.
And that manifested itself in the stone wall, which is all the stone reused from the existing cottage, and it was all built in a traditional technique, which is synonymous with the area.
Stevenson Studio have built a house for feasting on landscape and seascape. You just have to pause for a minute and just drink that in. It's like a giant painting. That is your main attraction, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you've got a view from your bathroom as well, haven't you? Oh, good heavens. Lying in the bath, looking straight out. And from the shower as well, in here?
Yeah.
Now, the shower has a great view over the coastal path. That'll double the number of dog walkers, won't it?
I don't think so.
I guarantee you're going to become the seller. There'll be such gossip about this place. So why no curtains at all? Why no blinds at all?
I think they're old-fashioned, and I don't want to spoil the cleanness of the lines with curtains. And also, they just stop you from getting the vistas and the light.
I hope you've been inspired by all 5 of these exemplary homes. But which will make the judges' shortlist for the RIBA House of the Year award? Maca, ghostly, ambiguous and perfectly crafted. Fitzroy House, a slice of Hollywood glamour in Hampstead. Westmoreland, mid-century modern tempered with some new Brutalist concrete. Levering House, an urban castle of light brick and Danish craftsmanship. Or Kevin McCloud, a clifftop Welsh modernist piece of perfection. We're giving you the chance to have your say on House of the Year in our public vote. Head to channel4.com/House of the Year. It's now time to find out which of these projects has made it onto the coveted shortlist of the 2015 House of the Year. I'm meeting architect Jonathan Maca, a member of the jury. He's here to tell me which ones are in the running to take home the big prize. So tell me about the first project on this shortlist.
Well, this one is a house in Maca in Northern Ireland. It's on the edge of a village. You arrive in this sort of courtyard area, and it's very, very simple, very few materials. Fantastic local granite that's been used inside and out, both for flooring and for benches and so on. And as you come into the house, all these spaces open up, and you suddenly realise you're in actually a rather sophisticated house with great internal spaces and these views out.
It does give us a great sense of achievement that we've done this and we've built the house.
And the quality of the build work is fantastic. Its attention to detail could only have been done with the quality of the workmanship that David and his team brought onto the house.
We're absolutely delighted.
Now, Jonathan, I'd like to ask you what the next project is that you've shortlisted, but I know, because you can't miss the house, and you certainly can't miss the model.
Levering House. The reason it's on the shortlist is that the way that right bang in the centre of London, on an area where this street morphs into a mews, it's modern without being aggressive and assertive, it's confident, and it's a bit like going into the TARDIS. It's enormous. Beautiful interplay of spaces and lights inside. Right the way through the building, attention to detail, all fitting together beautifully.
Sometimes when you walk down a street and look at an old house, and you think in the past, who built it 200 years ago? And maybe this, sometime in the future, somebody else will notice it. And I think that's a nice thing. Maybe this little corner of London got a little nice detail.
Throughout this film, we've talked a bit about craftsmanship and the well-made thing. In truth, there are so many parts of a building that can be crafted, that can be done as beautifully as possible for the simple pleasure of that. From the design work through to the joinery, the brickwork and the plastering. Even a super rational, minimal home can be finely crafted in its details. Craft is never far from fine construction or design. It is woven into our best buildings, and it speaks directly to us, to our hearts.
As Johannes Brahms, the composer, said, without craft, inspiration is a mere reed shaken in the wind.
In the next programme, we'll look at another group of houses up for the award. Some smaller projects that have also received recognition. And we'll find out who the winner is of House of the Year 2015.